Hello and welcome to the official Team Alpha podcast. This is episode number 8. My name is James MJ Watling, former professional athlete, fighter, and head of Team Alpha, a martial arts, life development, and fitness brand. This series of podcasts have been created to bring a variety of ideas, opinions, and interests for your attention and to debate. Tonight's guest, as we continue the reignite, perhaps the Team Alpha podcast, tonight's guest has been involved in the martial arts for close to a decade. I hope I get this right, of which he recently achieved his purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after having studied power kickboxing and Muay Thai, amongst other martial arts before this. He also trains as a qualified psychiatric care nurse, and in the past has presented his own very successful podcast, played in professional street hockey and as an enforcer, I should say, and worked as a professional model. Overall, a very interesting individual who quite recently became a father for the first time, and I count him as a very good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Reid.
Yay! That was a good intro, man. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, and you earned every part of it. I should have also added to that, he was also an official Peep magazine, podcast, anchorman in a sense on the martial arts scene in general, and particularly in Scotland. So Chris, Brilliant. It's great to see you. How are you feeling? Thank you for joining us tonight.
It's great. Thanks very much for having me on the inaugural Team Alpha podcast 2.0. I really appreciate it. It's a huge honor for me, honestly. I'm doing really good. I'm actually in a fight. Let's just get going here. I'm actually in a fight camp right now. I'm competing in a judo tournament in 2 weeks' time.
Wow, I didn't know.
In Cumbernauld, just outside Glasgow. So I'm kind of doing dual things. I just got my purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I've always had a thing about judo. My father did judo. He's a brown belt. And one of the guys that my dad used to train with, he's the sensei at this. Actually, it's an infamous British gym called Tams Brig Judo Club. It's one of the oldest judo clubs in Britain. And the sensei in there's been doing judo for 55 years.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And the guy is like an unbelievable teacher. We've trained in that gym before, James, with like the samurai pictures up on the wall and the paintings and stuff.
Yeah.
That's that.
Beautiful.
It's been there.
Historic gym.
It's been there for that gym's been there for 70 years, man. So it's incredible that, you could see if you ever want to do any type of, if you're a grappler, if you do any type of grappling, you can get a judo gym anywhere virtually on the planet. Judo's just been about forever. You can find a judo club in pretty much any city or town. But I always wanted to do judo. And while I've been on my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu journey, I felt that aspects of my takedowns were quite inferior. I did have a reasonably decent wrestling background, but I wanted to just try and implement a bit of everything. And I felt chaining everything towards where it all kind of came from, judo, would make sense to me. And I like the structure of it. I like the discipline, the structure, the respect, the history. A lot of it's gone unchanged for 500 years, which I love. So I went in and I'd been training really hard for a couple of years. And they told me not to grade, just kind of keep doing what I was doing, and they were going to write a letter to Judo Scotland about me. So they wrote a letter talking about kind of tournaments that I'd done in Jiu-Jitsu and what I was like as a person and a grappler. And I instantly got put into a green belt category. So I've got blue, brown, and black belt to go. So my plan is I'm going to compete in this tournament in 2 weeks. I'm going to go for my blue belt. And my plan, I'm going to have a brown belt in judo by the end of the year. I'm so focused on that right now. And the judo has been fantastic for my jiu-jitsu. It's completely changed my game. I love it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
It's interesting. I didn't know you were competing so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we were together in person, I've we've been friends for about a decade. Is that fair to say? About 10 years.
Yeah.
And when we met, actually, we met at EZ Sports in Glasgow, which was so just to give a little bit of context. So Sports Sense was a supplement brand that I had been part of, and then eventually took over with my cousin, God rest his soul, Scott Watling, then we'd basically grown the brand, we'd rebranded, brought in new products, and really established it as or created it rather as a an all-encompassing, high quality, well branded, I would like to think, supplement company, which we then amalgamated with another company, EZ Sports, which was a shop in Stirling, originally owned by Chris Crow and Richie Carling, and we had the product in there, and then eventually we teamed up with them, and then we launched we opened two new shops, one in Dunfermline and one in Glasgow. Whoa, goes the chair. Every time I say Glasgow, I just drop to the right for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Because someone's headbutting the chair.
That's exactly what it is.
Someone headbutts it.
So in Glasgow. Doesn't say the G word again. And then we met, and I believe you were being sponsored through Connecticut, and as an athlete and as a model, really, as a figure. And I was introduced to you through Chris Crow, and I think I remember saying, as soon as I saw you, had this vibrant energy about you, and I just felt a connection with you really quickly. And then we started to train together, and I believe that's how we met. I think the first training session we had, we talked about Charles Mawson, because we're in the what was the name of the park? Kelgrove Park, is that right?
Kelvin Grove Park.
Kelvin Grove Park, and we worked out there together. And we talked about Charles Mawson, who was essentially a New Zealand explorer who had been trapped in the Arctic. If I'm getting my history right, for a couple of years, and he lost 80% of his body weight, and he just kept on going, and we're performing sprints, and that's essentially how we met.
We had a good, absolutely. I mean, I was just, when I met you, it's like Brokeback supplements here, like Brokeback Mountain, but we did have a connection. We just understood each other. At that time, I was playing street hockey for Great Britain, getting ready to go to the World Championships in Bratislava. I was sponsored by Connecticut, and you guys took me on, which was like the best thing ever. I mean, I can't thank you enough for that. But yeah, we both had the same mindset for training, and you kind of get drawn to people like that. And the training we were doing was absolutely insane, and I couldn't keep up with a lot of the stuff that you were doing. You were just like on another level. Just, there's some people that just are not just gifted, but have this mental work ethic where they will just keep going and going and going. And to train with you was like a huge honor, from all your achievements you've done in the kickboxing world, and to be able to still have that longevity even past retirement as well. You were still a complete super soldier. But interestingly, I've been listening to an audiobook on the endurance, and that was about the boat that went on kind of online of Mawson, and the boat actually got trapped in ice, and the guys had to spend again a good couple of years trying to get to where they needed to be. And they actually said, it was the other day I was listening to it, and they were talking about Mawson, and I was like, no way, remember that, Mawson? Because I remember, like, we were doing hill sprints, and I was dying inside, but I didn't want to show you that. But I was like, how many more have we got to do? And you just kept saying, Mawson, think of Mawson, this is nothing. It was great. But I still think of that, man. Yeah, that was some good training.
That was great. I remember it now. It was a beautiful day, and I think Ben Affleck had just been announced as Batman. We're also discussing the benefits of Affleck as Batman, being 6'4" and 220.
Batfleck,
man, awesome times, and yeah. So we began training together, and I mentioned in the introduction. Well, actually, you've just mentioned there that you were a professional street hockey player, and that's where you were aimed at. But in regards, so it'd be interesting to talk about that a little bit, because as I understand it, your role was an enforcer, which means that you were basically paid to fight other hockey players and put them in bad situations. Is that correct?
So here's the story, right? So I was a retired ice hockey player. I was playing ice hockey from when I was like 12 years old. Like when I was a kid, I was just a wild kid, and I had loads of energy, and all my friends were playing ice hockey. And so I started playing ice hockey, and I realized, I quickly realized you could fight. It's like, I literally have a square go with another guy, and the referee stops refereeing the game to referee you fighting. It's mad. So I loved that. And it got to the point where I was fighting so much that I kind of didn't care when I was fighting anymore. Like I didn't have butterflies in my stomach. It was just like kind of like breathing. I was just going through the motions of it. And I got broken noses and split eyes and got a few second bests, but I always answered the bell. And then I kind of retired from ice hockey. I was playing for Scotland at the time. I'd hurt my knee. And I kind of started to miss like a window of opportunity, I thought, of being able to like make it, as they say. So I retired from that. And then one of my friends got in contact with me a few years later and said, look, we've got a street hockey Great Britain trials coming up. You fancy going for it? And I was like, come on, man, street hockey? Like, what's for kids? And he showed me some of the footage of it, and it was like super competitive, like really, really competitive. And I still missed that part of it, the competitive side. I was like, this is again completely true. When I retired from ice hockey, whenever I was watching ice hockey, my palms would start getting sweaty. I'd start to get butterflies in my stomach. Before any game, I would start to get a little bit excited. But then when my feet touched the ice, I was completely fine, calm as a cucumber. And interestingly, even on some of the weekends, like when I wasn't even watching ice hockey, I would still get this like natural reaction to preparing for the situation of ice hockey and getting into a fight. So it was still in me, still in my DNA. So I got involved in it, went down to the trials, got into the team, and next thing I know, I'm in Bratislava. But the problem, so I was an enforcer all the way through ice hockey, but street hockey was just different. It wasn't really fully acceptable to be that kind of person. And the game, I realize as well, like the game's changed a lot now. Like when you watch NHL ice hockey, yeah, there's fights here and there, but it's kind of frowned upon. Like the teams would rather pay for a really great player instead of having an enforcer. The way an enforcer works is they aren't just some thug. They are there to slow down the momentum of the other team. They're there to take out one of their toughest guys to make them fear your team. It's a bit of psychological warfare on it. And you get to know who the tough guys are around about the league each season. And so you sometimes have some gentlemen's agreements at the warm-up. You'll say, like, you want to go? And they'll say, yeah, let's go. And that's cool. So we'll get it going maybe like in the second period or something like that. And then eventually you'll just like go toe-to-toe with each other. No animosity afterwards. You'll give each other kind of a high five and buy each other a beer after the game. It's like completely crazy. So that technically, that was a form of a martial art to me. The balance, the skill based on it. You're on these blades trying to keep your balance while you're trying to punch each other's faces in. There's a mutual respect element to it as well, that you won't hit the other guy when he hits the ice. He can't protect himself down there. If somebody goes limp, you'll not continue to hit them anymore. If the ref steps in, the fight's over. So that kind of element of it was already in me. And so I felt it was quite an easy transition for me to move into other martial arts as well, like Thai boxing, power kickboxing. But I always wanted to move into grappling. I felt like it was a kind of missing element to something within me,
It's interesting in regards from what you'd said there. Well, two things actually. When you told me about what an enforcer did or does, I wasn't fully, I couldn't really comprehend it. I was like, no, surely they don't actually go up there and punch each other in the middle of a hockey game. That makes no sense. And then I went to an ice hockey game, and I think actually, I don't know if it was either when I went to go see the now defunct Vipers, because Newcastle used to have an ice hockey team called the Vipers. And I remember potentially being employed to do some work with those guys. So I was invited to a game, or it was the game when myself, you, and I think Mikey, who'd gone along to host an EZ Sports Sense promotional evening at a hockey game at the Braehead Centre. That was it, the Braehead Centre.
Yeah. The Braehead Clan.
Braehead Clan, that's it. And I just remember actually that there was a disagreement between two of the athletes, and they literally just shook their gloves off and punched the hell out of each other in the face. Yeah. And I was like, this actually happens. And then one of them slipped, and then the referee jumped in. But I was kind of bemused by that. I was like, no way does this happen, but it happens, right? Yeah,
man. It's you kind of have an agreement. I mean, sometimes fights just break out and someone attacks somebody else, but if you're a bit of a stud, you give someone the nods, take your helmet off, take your gloves off, and say, okay, let's go, and you'll square off. You won't just like attack them first.
Yeah.
But you have to get permission sometimes from your coach. Like your coach might be like you can't go and fight right now. I need you in the game, or not yet. We'll wait. There's like a strategy behind it all. And so, but that's the thing. Like the enforcer side of things is now really quite a dying breed because of traumatic brain injuries and everything becoming a little bit softer now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I loved it. It was great.
I just wanted to mention a good point to mention now. When we went to the Braehead Clan is a Scottish ice hockey team, and there's the centre, which is this huge metro centre for the Northerners up here. I've never been. Sorry, so for the Northeasterners. Obviously, Scotland's more north than we are. And I just I don't know if you recall it, but what will always be known as, and I still continue this tradition of the Viking meal.
Where you order everything at once.
Exactly. Starters,
who does that?
Desserts, coffees, the beers, everything comes out at once, like a Vikings banquet.
It kind of makes sense, you know what I mean? Like when you're a kid, you want the sweet first, and then why not just order like soup, ice cream, and steak?
They went for it, and you guys enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
And, but then when we tried that again at a casino down the road, which was more of a high end. Yeah. The guy just wasn't going for it. That's not how they.
The chef. You could hear the chef in the back going, "What?" and hitting his meat cleaver. What? They want what? No, can't do that. But that was pretty cool.
so from there, you mentioned about how that instilled a obvious. Well, as I see it, fighters are born, not necessarily made. So it's although you could teach anybody how to throw a punch, but I think how to fight is another matter. And so with you having, as I see it, had this within you, and you were able to tap into that and also utilize that and deliver it at the appropriate time during an ice hockey game. You said that, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to put words in your mouth, almost the philosophy of the samurai or the warrior,
a code.
The code was perhaps consciously or unconsciously found through that. So then at what point did you then turn that into, going to a martial arts class or studying a martial arts from there?
I maybe kind of got my timeline slightly wrong. Like in between all that, I dabbled with Muay Thai, and I think Muay Thai was quite popular for everybody at one point. Like everybody that's done some kind of martial art, I think, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but Muay Thai was quite fashionable for a period of time, and people were dabbling in it. And I was doing it, but I felt like I was going through the motions of it, and I was jumping in and out of it, and I felt like it was helping what I needed for ice hockey. It was helping for what I needed to like stay in really good shape. You know what I mean? Like the work ethic in a Thai class is hardcore. But I would see like MMA guys coming in, and I would always like this is like 10 years before I even started any kind of grappling. Like I'd see the MMA guys come in and I'd say, look at that. What, that guy's getting strangled. That guy's getting armbarred. I was always watching the UFC from like almost the beginning. It was always kind of a part of me. I was quite obsessed with watching it, quite obsessed with I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast from the very beginning as well, when he was sitting on a sofa with Brian Redban, and he was always talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how amazing it was. So I kind of had it in my mind that I wanted to move in that direction. So started off with the Muay Thai, still kind of like dabbled with it back and forth here and there, dipped in and out of it. It kind of wasn't fully interesting me. And I kind of started doing a little bit of MMA, jumping in and out of the classes here and there. But I really just wanted to do the grappling side of it. And I just took I know I'm maybe jumping on to maybe like your questions a little bit, because I think they might be chaining together here. But my friend at the time, he had sadly passed away, my friend David. I'd always been saying to him, like, I really want to start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he was like, you should do it. Like, just find somewhere and just go. And I was like, I don't know. And something was kind of holding me back. And I think it was definitely my ego. Like when I was going into the MMA classes, whenever it hit the ground, I was getting tied in knots and I was kind of frustrated by it. But I didn't feel in those classes I was really getting taught what to do on the ground. And I heard that there was a really good brown belt in a little town quite close to where I stayed. An OG, like a guy that him and his friend, when jiu-jitsu was kind of getting spoken about in like the late 90s, he was getting videotapes sent over from America, and him and his friend were like trying to do all this stuff in a hut. And then Marcos Nardini, who is an Amal Easton black belt, and Amal Easton's or Hensel Gracie black belt. This guy Marcos Nardini somehow ended up in Scotland. And my black belt, Joke Love, his name is Joke Love, he ended up training with Marcos Nardini and then started training in this little coal mining village. It's like crazy how the lineage all works. And so I went into this my friend David died, and I thought for him and for me, like, life's too short. You got to feel the fear and just do things sometimes and get in there. It's something I always wanted to do. Why should I be held back anymore or constrained to my own ego and fears? Like, I was a fearless fighter at one point. This is just rolling about the ground.
Our sponsor, Luxfolio. Luxfolio Real Estate looks at real estate from a more creative perspective, offering a modernized service and approach to all of your real estate needs. Their services includes buying, selling, renting, and leasing. They provide a world-class service that knows no limits and can service your property anywhere in Dubai. At Luxfolio Real Estate, you don't simply represent another buyer in the market. You are a priority and part of a highly successful team. Contact Luxfolio at Facebook page on info@luxfoliorealestate.ae.
So I went along, and it's a hard, like, that gym at the time was a hardcore little, those gyms where you walk in and you're like, oh, this is hard. Like, this is a hard coal mining village. A bunch of guys, and they were a close unit as well. They probably seen thousands of people come in the door and never come back the next day. And I didn't leave. I just kept going, took my licks, let them smash me to pieces, let them kill my ego for me, let me just be thrown about like a little baby. And I'm one of only few of them now that's kind of stood the test of time and kind of kept it going, to be honest with you. So many other like white belts came in and just didn't stick it out, apart from me and my training partner.
Just to pick that up, when we were training together quite regularly, striking together, I think you just began the jiu-jitsu then, and we would train a little bit of jiu-jitsu together. So I know you've been doing this for a long time. So from the start, from your first visit to the gym to receiving your purple belt, your well-earned purple belt, How long did that process take? And the reason I'm asking that is A, I don't know exactly how long it was, and B, I think to the listeners and the viewers, that's really going to highlight just how serious and how prestigious. Because I don't want to diminish it and say I know how good. I don't know how good you are. I know how good I believe you are. Because I haven't been the last time I was with you, it was in a wedding hall somewhere, and you were showing me how to put a triangle on correctly. So I have, and I know how tough a guy you are. So I can imagine how good you are. But just for the viewers, that's somebody of your high standard. Just to highlight how serious a belt is in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, particularly when you're paying for it figuratively and literally in blood.
Okay, so here's a few different things. I don't profess to be good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I am proudly a Joke Love purple belt. He doesn't give belts out. He doesn't give them out. They are earned through blood, sweat, and tears. And that is the thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu compared to all other martial arts. You can buy your belts, and you can hit pads, and you can hit bags, and you can be the guy that's wearing his. I'm not gonna take a crap on other martial arts, but you can be the guy that's wearing a gi from a martial art in his black belt that looks out of shape, that's in Tesco, and you know what I mean. You can be that guy that's kidding himself on. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you're a purple belt, you have a huge target on your back. And again, jumping about a little bit, guys from other gyms, crossover gyms now. It's back in the day, gyms would never cross paths unless they fought in tournaments. Now we all sharpen each other iron, right? We all sharpen iron. Iron sharpens iron. Even like tomorrow, we've got guys from a gym in Glasgow coming down to train with us for what we call Savage Sunday. And there was a message on the group saying there's some guys getting ready for some fights. They're looking for a purple belt that likes wearing the gi who's up for it. And I was like, me, let's go. Your belt cannot lie. So, when I'm rolling with those guys tomorrow, they're going to see what kind of purple belt I am. I'll see what kind of purple belt they are. You kind of get the idea. So it's a very hard thing to describe, but I started in August 2015. And here we are in 2022, and I've gone white, blue, and purple. And that's the thing. People chase belts. You can't chase belts. Just my philosophy was ultimately try and be the best white belt in the room, become a white belt that is an absolute nightmare against blue belts and purple belts, and everybody in the room. Just be a nightmare till it becomes undeniable that you're now a blue belt, possibly a purple belt. They may go, that guy's probably coming quite close to purple belt. Give him a blue belt. That's how it works. And then when you're a blue belt, become the biggest nightmare ever possible until people are talking and they go, that guy's a purple belt. That guy has to get his purple belt now. And then you get given your purple belt. That is the way Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu works. It doesn't work by doing gradings and katas and stuff like that. That I like it when I've liked it when my professor, my black belt, has walked up to me and said, "You're a nightmare," and strapped me up with a belt and said, keep going, never give up, keep going. So I can't say that I'm good, although I've competed in competitions and I think I've done well against some pretty high level guys at times that have gone on to win other things. Competing, different things have happened along the way with injuries and stuff like that. But I'm going to be competing quite a lot this year. I'm throwing myself into a judo competition in the next couple of weeks. But one of the things I will say is don't care about if you're ever wanting to do anything. One of the things that was nearly putting me off, again, ego-wise along my journey, I kept worrying about other people all the time. I kept worrying about other people getting belts, getting promoted, being better than me. And it was like this thing that was eating away all the time. And then I had to just look at myself introspectively and just look at me. It's just jiu-jitsu. If you get tapped a million times on a Saturday, it kind of doesn't matter. Just go back, lick your wounds, look at the stuff you need to work on, get that cardio up, concentrate on your defense, go back next week and build back up, you know? And these are things like along the way, I've learned so many different things about myself. It sounds like so cliche, a jiu-jitsu person, to talk about the journey and the philosophy, but you can't be a true martial artist without thinking that way. Otherwise, you'd just be a dumb thug, you know? And that's what my black belt's instilled in me, his black belt's instilled in him. And down the line, when I become a black belt and have some students under me, I will pass that on to them as well. And the lineage will continue of being almost like a philosopher on the mats. Being a good person, a good human being, a good martial artist, someone that never quits. So yeah, the journey continues, my friend.
Just before we move on from the jiu-jitsu, if you could ever do such a thing, could you recommend for any listeners and viewers who would like to get started either in a martial art or specifically Brazilian jiu-jitsu, a book that they should read, and perhaps so three things. Number one, what you think they should do to get started. Number two, a book that you would direct them to read to give them an understanding. And three, a film that you would recommend that they watch.
Okay, so is this back to front? This is On Jiu-Jitsu by Chris Matakis. Absolutely phenomenal book. It's a beautiful book, and it's about a man's journey through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and his philosophy around it. You got to think with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's a very intimate martial art where you're getting strangled, your joints are getting manipulated, you're getting smothered like a blanket while people are breathing heavily in your face and sweating on you. But while that extreme stressful situation is happening, you have to slow everything down, slow your mind down, concentrate on the high-level problem-solving aspect of it, and solve the puzzle to get out of that deep, dark place that you're in. This book helped me to understand that. You know, at the time, that those types of situations were really like bearing on me. But now, you know, so this book On Jiu-Jitsu by Chris Matakis, I've got a bunch of things. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. What else do I read as well? Actually, a Jack Dempsey book, Championship Fighting. Awesome. And I've got this absolutely fantastic Jiu-Jitsu University book by Saulo Ribeiro. These books all put together will absolutely help you on your journey. Movies-wise, you have to watch Red Belt. You're just going to have to give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to have to plug my phone in. Run out of battery here.
Yeah, Red Belt. I was hoping you would say that.
Yeah.
So what about then? So somebody goes out, they're listening to this, they order the book, they order that fantastic film Red Belt. Maybe they're throwing a little bit of Miami Hustle just to get them in the mood. What do they then need to do? Where do they point themselves?
So that's the thing. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has become quite gentrified and very, very accepting of everybody now, which is absolutely fantastic. Like kind of around, you know, even around about the time I started, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was a very hardcore, quite niche martial art. Now there's a lot of beginners classes. Like even today I train in a gym called Lycan's Gym. Lycan's Gym has some high level guys training out of there, full-time guys. So I'm just like a regular dude that works, you know. I work a full-time job. I'm a daddy. But there's guys in my gym that are full-time. And so they teach, they coach. They're friendly, they're kind, they're polite, and they're savages, you know. They're top level guys. We've got European medal winners. We've got British champions. We've got people that are on high level no-gi grapple, like the highest no-gi grappling cards in the country, Grapple Fest. We've got Jack Brown, David Sharp, Shawnee Stewart. coaches wise, you've got my coach, Joe Glove. Like when you step onto the mat, it's, for me, it's going to be a hard role. For a beginner, it's going to be so polite. People are going to be so kind to you and nice to you, and they're going to help you. But what I would say is, if someone wants to get started, do not wait. Get in there. Look for your local Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Find their Facebook page or Instagram page and message them and ask them when beginners classes are, or when, I'm a beginner, I want to come along, and I'm a little bit, be honest, say like I'm a little bit worried about it, and they will absolutely put you at ease, because everybody has felt exactly the same when they first start that, that type of art. Well, I believe they do anyway. I mean, if you didn't, you got to be a bit of a sociopath to not actually feel anything walking into somewhere like that and knowing that you're going to get strangled and your joints manipulated to the point where they might break.
It's a tough sport. I remember when I was a little bit into my journey and into the gi side of it specifically, and going twice a week, and then trying to concentrate for a couple of hours at a time and focus on things, and I just reached a point where I was just, part of me was saying, do you know what, I'm not enjoying this. The only bit I enjoy is when I leave afterwards, and I don't mean it in a sense of
it's like a relief.
Yeah, exactly that. And I remember telling you that, and I don't remember exactly what you said to me, but you said some really inspirational words. But also what you said, the thing I do remember you saying is, look, you might have said this or put this in the messages. Look, if it's not for you, then you can just stop. And then that made me think, well, hang on, maybe it is for me. So that was really interesting. And I imagine that if, that's a kind of response in a way that you would get, where no one's going to force you to go, but you'd be welcome to go, and you'd be encouraged to stay. And perhaps that's enough for anybody who wants to keep going or get started.
Like, I'll be honest with you, it isn't for everybody. It's not. There's lots of other things you can do. People can go and play golf and problem solve and do a solitary sport where they have to concentrate on the weather, the elements around them, the how hard they need to strike the ball, picking the right club. People can do that to try and, like, if you're looking to try, like, there's different things you can do, martial arts wise, sports wise, depends on how deep philosophy you want to go. So I'm going to stick with the philosophy side of it. Like, I like looking into myself, I like looking outwardly, I like to try and find different things that can help me with life, even more so now that I'm a father of a beautiful boy. I know what he sees me do, he copies. Like yesterday, I'm getting ready for this competition, and I was out in the garden throwing kettlebells about, doing push-ups, and he came out and he was copying or trying to copy stuff I was doing. I was throwing kettlebells about, and he picked up a rock, and he was doing like overhead presses and stuff, and I was like, this guy, so watch what I'm doing. So I guess kind of back to what you were saying, you can't take things too seriously. If you treat everything you're doing as a life or death experience, you're going to die a lot of times, and you don't want to face that. If you keep doing a martial art and keep turning up and take your licks and push yourself, you will become good. It's not about who's the best. It's about who's last. Who's the last person standing,
Mm-hmm.
So like,
that's good.
I know, like, in my gym, there's high level guys that train 2 to 3 times a day, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They coach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu throughout the day as well. And they are high level. And if I can just hang with them, if I can do okay against them, that's an achievement for me. I'll leave pretty satisfied, even if I don't tap them, or even if I just get tapped once by like the top guy in the gym, I'm very satisfied with that. I'm like, well done, man. So it's about giving yourself mini goals and knowing where you are. Like, if you've just started something and you're going up against an expert, what do you expect to happen? It's not a movie where you're going to get like a lucky chokehold or a lucky arm lock on someone. That person has been studying that for thousands and thousands of hours. Like, we've got a guy that trains with us called Mark McQueen. He's like an exceptionally talented young man, and he's the world or British powerlifting champion. He retired and took up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, got his purple belt in 2 years. In his
Wow.
first year, he won the European Championships without. In fact, the guy hasn't taken a point against him. He's had like 35 matches.
Wow.
So there's people that are just like on an absolute other level. So he's like 125 kilos. He's a powerlifting champion, and he trains like a maniac at grappling. He wrestles. He does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So if, let's just say, like, you train 3 hours a week, he's done 3 hours on a Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be realistic with yourself. So if you're a beginner, there's beginners classes out there. Take it easy, have fun, go to the beginners classes, learn the fundamentals. And when it does come time with you to roll with these bigger guys or better guys, they will take it easy on you. No one's out there to try and kill you unless you're a bit of a dick. But if you can stand your ground with them, that's a win, right? Mm. That's the way to look at it, rather than just think I'm getting smashed by all these guys. Well, you got to look at it intelligently. You got to look at it like a martial artist.
Absolutely.
Right?
Our main sponsor, the Three Hungry Bears. Stomach growling, want to eat like a bear, they hear you. Now, they're not suggesting that they'll help you gorge out on salmon or steal honey from the bees. But what they can do is offer takeout meals that'll help your raging hunger if all you've got left in your gym bag is a half-eaten energy bar. Just like old Grizzly does in the wild, they've got their paws on the best of nature's kitchen, and their menu is guaranteed to maximize your energy intake when all you want to do is hibernate. So whether you're looking to bulk up like Gaines, shred weight like Cutter, or comfort your little cubs with treats, we've got a great menu to suit every taste. The only bear, one grudge, and that's against poor quality, tasteless, processed food. You'll not find any of that with the Hungry Bears. So check out their menu now, and they promise that just like Ted, it'll leave you feeling stuffed. Cutter, Gains, and Treats, the Three Hungry Bears. Hungry Bears is available from Just Eat, Uber Eats, and just a phone call away on 0191 286 8668. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at the Three Hungry Bears. You mentioned before that you work full time and you recently became a father fairly recently. With the little one. So how can you just say just a little bit linking that to your training, how you managed to fit your training in with the work that you do? If you want to speak a little bit about the work you do, fantastic. Yeah. If not, no worries. And what it was like to become a father as well, and then how you integrate that within your training and within your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so I am a charge nurse for a liaison psychiatry team. I'm an alcohol liaison nurse as well. I'm a registered mental health nurse, went to university, qualified, and kind of worked my way up. But I work between accident and emergency and all the general hospital wards in 2 hospitals. And some examples of things that I do are, if someone is having, mental illness issues where they feel suicidal, they want to self-harm, they have become quite severely mentally unwell and they end up in accident and emergency, or, if they've survived trying to take their own life, I will see them, once they're medically fit and look at options for them. I'll spend quite a bit of time with them and look at what's got them to that point. And for, a period of time, look at what I can do to try and put things in place to help them. And so that's my job role. So I work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. It's a very mentally challenging job. And definitely for periods of time, I have had periods where I've brought a lot of that work home in my own mind. And it's definitely affected me kind of outwardly as well. And that's why, again, martial arts is such a fantastic thing to do when you work any kind of job, I guess, but my job specifically, I require to try and change someone's life or outlook on life very, very quickly. Someone's tried to kill themselves. I've got to try and convince them that life's good and things can be different in 6 months down the line. If you make the right changes, things can be maybe not fantastic, but they can be better than they are now, And so the right now is you're distressed, but down the line, things could be completely different. And so, again, taking that philosophy into martial arts, it's problem solving, like what's worse than someone strangling me? There's not really much worse than that. So when I'm facing these situations at work where I feel like I should probably be feeling under an incredible amount of pressure, I kind of problem solve it a little bit. I look at the reality of the situation and what tools I have to try and solve it. And I've taken all of that into fatherhood now, where I look at being a dad is like the best thing that's absolutely ever happened to me ever. I love being a daddy. My son is just so beautiful. And I'm getting emotional, but I just love being a dad. He's I feel like I want to pass on as much goodness as I can to him. I want him to, not that I'm going to be like an overbearing maniac, but I want him to see me reading books and important books that have been important to me, and I want him to see me training and being a fit dad. I don't want to be the kind of dad that a son sees that's just sitting lying on the sofa Friday to Sunday drinking cans of lager, yelling at the TV. I want him, like even now, right, that he knows a bunch of words and he's very, very aware of his surroundings. Like even this morning when I was packing my bag to go train, he pointed my bag and he went, Gym. And I said, yeah, I'm going to the gym, son. That's where I'm going. You're going to be coming with me soon. Within the next few weeks, you're coming with me. And he was like, gym. So like, he's kind of getting an idea of all this, and I want him to come and see the guys training, and I want him to learn self-defense. So for children, I'm going to teach my son self-defense, respect, philosophy, how to cope under stress. Because I was at one point, I was definitely a bit of an anxious child when I really think about it, and I've spent too much time worrying in my life. Whereas when I look at the philosophy of martial arts, you're constantly throwing yourself into stressful situations. And if you have the mindset of, I'm going to die here, or I could get killed here, or I'm rubbish, I'm having, if you just kind of think that way, that's what you'll continue to do. So you have to change that mindset. So I've got that mindset at work. I've got that mindset being a father. At one point I thought, years and years ago, I didn't want to be a father because I maybe didn't quite like aspects of myself. Again, thinking too inwardly can have a bit of a detrimental effect on you sometimes. And I felt me being a father, I would pass on maybe some bad aspects of myself. But now I completely don't think that at all. We all have flaws. We all have our flaws. But my hope is my dad has passed on great things to me. I'm taking those great things and creating great things for myself. I'm going to pass all of that on to my son. And hopefully, if he goes on to have children, he'll eventually have great things within himself that's been passed on from me, that's been passed on from my dad, that he's created himself. And who knows, eventually we might have the perfect father, which will never happen because we're all flawed in some ways. But that's my little goal right now. I want to try and be a black belt at being a daddy, number one. That's my goal. So that's having a child and want to be a black belt daddy is obviously challenging for training. So that's one of the reasons why I'd actually started judo as well. I was training almost every night. When you've got no children, you can train all the time. And so the judo kind of aligned with what I was doing and what I wanted and the time. So we do this, right? So the legend that is Charlie Strachan of Tamsbrig Judo Club, when I said to him, look, I want to start judo, this is what I want to do. I'm doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he said, that's fine. You'll keep doing that. We'll do this. And my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very happy with me cross-training into Judo, because we do a lot of no-gi Judo together now. And he's taken on some of the stuff I'm doing, and he's chaining it into wrestling. It's like, it all works great. But with the legend that is Charlie Strachan, the black belt in Thamesbrig Judo Club, kind of during lockdown and stuff, I was chatting to him about what I wanted to do, and I was chatting to him about my son and when I can train. And he said, we'll train at 8:30 at night when he's in bed. So he changed the training times for me. How crazy is that? How beautiful is that? So I train at night when my son's in bed, and I train on the weekends in the morning. You know, Helen, my wife's just been fantastic, because she knows how much it means to me. So in the morning, I train for 3 hours I do an hour and a half on a Tuesday, hour and a half on a Thursday. I do 3 hours on a Saturday. I do 2 hours on a Sunday. And in between all that is daddy time and work. Can't do it all, my man, unfortunately.
I think you are doing it all. I mean, that's a hell of a schedule to keep. But you know, it's interesting. I mean, that's a lot for me. That's a lot of training, I think. You know, so what's that, like 6-7 hours? Is that 6 hours a week? More than 6 hours? Was it 5,
yeah,
6, 8 hours?
5 hours jiu-jitsu and 3 hours plus judo.
Yeah, 8 hours is a lot. I mean, you know, that's almost a fight camp, really. And that's a lot of time put into that. And you know, looking at it from one side, well, that's 8 hours training, and then there's 40 hours of work, and then, you know, however many hours, all the rest of the hours with Brody. And obviously time with Helen as well, and you know, getting some time in to watch watch some cool films and read some books. But you know, and then you got to sleep. But at the end of the day, you know, I've always said there's 24 hours in a day, right? You sleep 6 of them, you know, 7 maybe a push. That's still going to leave you about 17, 18 hours. That's a lot of time to do a lot of things. And I think that
absolutely,
you know, if maybe reduce the TV time, reduce the social media time, and lo and behold, you've got an extra 10 hours, 15 hours a week, you know?
Well, you're absolutely right. And I don't, look, if people want to go out and drink and party and do whatever it is they want to do, that's fine. Even if like people don't drink a lot, if they want to go to the pub and meet their mates, that's absolutely fine. I don't do that. I used to do that all the way through my life. And in the past year and a half, I've only had 3 drinks. So I don't, you know, I'm not in the pub on a Saturday or a Friday or going to the football. I don't like football. I don't go watch football. That's my life is judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, daddy, wife and work, and that's it. So the other time people spend where they go, look, I'm away, I'm off with my mates all night, I'll catch you later. They're out at meeting boys down the pub at 6 and then they're up back until 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm away for an hour and a half. I'm away for 2 hours. It's not that much. And we all need things, you know, like if you look at what's been percolated down our gene pool, there's the warrior gene inside us. We need to be doing things. And you can, let's chain all this together then, like the mental health side of it. I feel amazing. Like I felt terrible a lot. I've felt terrible a lot of times when I've came out of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when I've just been really humbled, you know, and I've looked out the kitchen window for hours and my wife's gone, are you okay in there? And I'm like, yeah, wait, you won't understand. We've all been there. Or you're driving home with no music on in your car, like, oh, I want a truck to hit me. I've been there in white belt in the start of my blue belt territory, but now I come out of every jiu-jitsu session buzzing. No matter what's happened to me, you know, like if I've had a rough one, I try and problem solve it and I go, hey, that's what I need to do next time, and that's what they do, and I'm going to try and do that to them. And you know, I think about it, whereas I don't let things eat me alive now. So that kind of takes up like it's a hobby. It's a little hobby. You know, we've all got to have these things. So if you think about like right down the gene pool, like 100,000 years ago, that's got us to this point where I'm a father. Look at what our ancestors did. You know, they didn't all just sit in the house with their wives all the time. You know, people had roles and tasks, and so
absolutely.
you know, men would be out hunting, the women would be taking care of like the house at home,
Yep.
gathering wood, gathering berries.
Yep.
And then would be out for a hunt to go and, you know, or protecting the village from other people or whatever.
Yes.
Present day down the lane, I'm gonna sit and watch Netflix 7 days a week in between work and just hate myself and be depressed and think about what I could be doing with my life and commenting on what other people are doing in their lives on social media. Nah, I've kind of got that in me. That's kind of like warrior gene where I want to do things. I want to be. Well, I hunt as well, but I want to be a hunter. I want to be a warrior in my own right. Even if it's just on a Saturday with my friends, I'm still doing what my ancestors did and being a bit of a warrior. And it actually keeps me sane. It's like one of the best antidepressants in the world, to be honest with you. Learning things and high level problem solving, using your mind as a weapon as well as your physical body, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Team Alpha Green. Team Alpha Green offer you some of the very best fightwear, clothing, boxing gloves available today, all designed and created to their own high-spec in-house designs. For boxing, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, gym wear, or just to show off your inner wolf, find them on www.teamalphagreen.com. In a sentence, how would you say that? So your work that you do, so let's say as a hockey player, as a the psychiatric, if I'm saying that correctly, I don't believe I've said that, psychiatric care nurse.
Mental health. Just say mental
health. Thank you. As a jiu-jitsu, as a martial artist, as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, as a martial artist, and as a father and a husband, for each of those in a sentence, what would you say that's either done for you or what have you learned from that, and or what has that meant to you? And just to summarize it almost in a sentence that people could take away.
Everybody has their own experiences of life. And I've experienced, I don't think I can do this in just a sentence. Okay, let me do it in a sentence and I'll explain, right? Mm-hmm. I'm forever changed by it all. It's all changed for me. But I think if you just exist within these things without actually using your mind and thinking about them deeply, you won't see it all broadly. So you can be a dad, but no, you can be a father, but you have to think about being a daddy, right? Anybody can be a father, but to be a daddy is you got to think deeply and look at yourself, deeply. With martial arts, you can turn up and with your kit bag and just train if you want to and see what happens. But if you want to be a martial artist, you've got to think about problem solving and game plans and how to solve this puzzle that's ever evolving in front of you each week. So the main thing that is changed for me is the mind aspect of it, learning, evolving, understanding, and never being hard on myself. And that's it. Martial arts, there has to be a winner. There has to be a loser. Sometimes there can be a draw. But you can't just quit after a loss. You can keep going if you want to. And those losses, it can be, you don't need to compete. Like, you don't need to do martial arts and compete every weekend to be a martial artist. You can be a martial artist just on the weekends or through the week if you want to. But if you look at it deeply and look at the respect aspect of it, and you're turning up at a specific time, you've got to look at it as well. Sorry, James, I'm going on here.
No, not
Is
at
it
all.
okay?
Yeah, of course.
Is that all right?
Of course.
You got to look at who's teaching you. Like, look at it. See when my black belt, Joe Glove in Jiu-Jitsu, and now my black belts in Judo, I respect them so much, because the amount of time they have put into to get to their black belt and maintain and keep going for many 20 plus years for like Joke, and 55 for Charlie. They're giving me something. They're giving me their time, they're giving me their knowledge, they're giving me their philosophy, they're giving me, and I don't know, they're a couple of tough guys, but they're almost like father figures to me to a certain extent. And that's maybe, it might sound a bit off for some people, but martial arts can be a mother and a father to some people. And these guys have spent so much time with me and trusting me and passing on their skills. I don't know, would they spend that time with other people? Maybe, probably, I don't know. But because I'm giving them something back, I'm turning up, I'm there, mostly week in, week out, depending on what's happening in my life, if I'm illness or Brody's sick or work or whatever. But majority of the time, I'm there. But you can just go through the motions if you want to. But if you want to look at it deeply, things will start to change in your life. You'll, don't get me wrong, like, martial arts can be full of arseholes as well. It just going through a belt system in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, it doesn't make you inherently, a good person. And it may actually have another effect on people, where if you're already not a nice person and you start getting good at it, you could become a super bully. But for me, you and I are very much thinkers, James. Like, we're sensitive, we're thinkers, we look introspectively at ourselves, and I hope to pass. My plan, I am going to be a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a black belt in Judo, and maybe at some point I'll have my own academy. And Joe Glove and Charlie Strachan their legacies will live on through me and onto other people. So really, if you think about it, not many people get to live forever in many ways. I'm talking in a broad sense here, but if you think about it, James, you've taught me power kickboxing, and I've taught people that as well, on the side here and there, showing them a few things. That's lineage. I'm living through you. No, sorry, your knowledge being passed on to me and me passing it on to other people's something that's going to last potentially forever if they keep passing it down the line. So if you're a really, really good black belt coach and you've got a good pool of people that trust you as much as you trust them, and they keep passing that on, technically you can live forever. In a sense, right?
That's beautiful.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So these are things I'm thinking about quite deeply right now. I'm sorry that I maybe keep going off your direct questions, but I feel it kind of mixes into place here, where it's not something I can really sum up into a sentence, but I will say that I'm forever changed by it all. And maybe people don't think about it too deep. Maybe people would say, calm down, mate, like, don't think about it too deeply. But I like thinking this way and feeling this way about it all, and philosophizing.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. If anybody wants to find you, where can they get hold of you? Are you on social media? Are they able to
here's the thing.
Find you? Or
I'm not bothered about that. I'm on Instagram as Chris_Nuwaza. I don't really post much. I used to. At one point, I had like 10,500 followers when I was running my own podcast, and I didn't like it. So I just cancelled my Instagram and started a new one, and I've got like 100 people. I'm not that guy anymore. But if you want to follow what I'm doing, I put up some pictures of my kids and maybe some jiu-jitsu and judo stuff. Chris_Nuwaza on Instagram. Come get me. I'm nothing special. I'm not a world champion. I'm not a European champion. I'm just some guy that's 40 years old that's talking a little bit of philosophy about martial arts.
That's all awesome. Right? That's awesome. Well, and hopefully in the future we're going to see the legend, what will become legendary, Reid Senior versus Vladimir Putin in a judo matchup.
Yeah, my dad's training for that.
That's good, man.
Yeah, we're going to send him in there.
Your dad's a beast. Your dad's a beast. He's a good man.
He's looking great just now, actually.
I'll
pass on your regards. Yeah,
please to your mom and dad, say, if you don't mind saying hi, that'd be great. Okay, but man, we're going to wrap up there. I'm going to come and see you soon in person. We're going to train together. We're going to hit the basketball court. I'm going to buy us dinner, and again, let's go.
What happened last time?
It's well, it was a big court we played on, but I still hit that 3-pointer. That's the main thing.
It's court and I beat you. Right, I've got to go. It's bath time. I love you.
Love you too.
Keep safe.
You too. Take care.
Stay on the path.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.